Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of the Monsters Den. We are in the lair of Allo. Chris Allo in the co-captain's chair, and our very special guest, Dave LaGreca from Busted Open Radio on Sirius XM, joining us here. And it's the Monsters Den, and today is the episode that you guys have all been asking for. I can't believe in all this time we've been doing this show, we have never done our favorite horror films of all time. All time. And for those of us who are a little bit older, I think I'm the oldest guy in this bunch. That's a long fucking time ago.
It's a long time.
That's a long time ago.
Movies out there.
So we have been painstakingly trying to figure out what are those 10 films that we love more than any others. And again, monster, horror film, thriller, we're kind of trying to stick into the genres that we normally cover on the channel. So I think we've actually done that. We put our list together. We're going to have our special celebrity guest go first today. Absolutely. We're going to put you on the spot, Dave.
Well, you know what? It's funny because I have my book, and it's actually a notebook that I have full of top 10 lists. So I have already my top 10 list of my favorite horror movies and the best horror movies, in my opinion, of all time. First and foremost, let me put you guys over. I love you guys. So this is like an honor for me to be on this show. You guys kill it. I love the videos. Sea of Tranquility is amazing as well. So thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave, for coming on, because when Dave reached out, I was like, well, this guy's like gotta be not the real Dave LaGreca, because I listen to Busted Open Radio.
Thank you.
The real Dave LaGreca wouldn't reach out to me because he's too cool. But there he is.
Well, that being said, my list is the definite top 10 best horror movies of all time. So
I'm sure.
Just so you know.
Okay, all right.
But thank you for letting me go first, because at number 10, and I'm guessing this is probably a movie that you both have on your list as well, and that is the first zombie classic, Night of the Living Dead. The first in the series of the George A. Romero zombie movies. So that is on my number 10. Fell in love with this movie at a very early age. Scared the hell out of me when I first saw it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it is in black and white. And it just has that atmosphere to it. And it started a genre of movies that, heck, even the TV show Walking Dead, all inspired by that first George A. Romero classic. So Night of the Living Dead, number 10 for me.
Excellent choice.
That's a great
Groundbreaking
choice. It's
film.
a true game changer for sure.
What do you got, number 10?
All right, I'm pulling a Catino because this was a
stare creepily into the camera.
I'm talking about fucking Winger, but just the heavy songs from Winger. No,
Just the heavy song.
Just kidding. No, I could not.
We love you, Rich.
We love you, Rich.
He's a big fan. I'm a big fan of his.
We're just pulling your chain. I couldn't get to 10. I got it to 11. And this was one of Pete's toughest assignments. And I just kept thinking, and I even had a check with Pete. I'm like, all right, so these are 10 like personal favorite horror movies. This isn't what I think are the 10 best horror movies. These are like, if Pete's put me in a fucking rocket and he's like, you got 10 discs.
That's all you can take.
And that's all you can take.
He's going to take 11.
I'm squeezing. I'm shoving one in my shirt. He'll never know. All right, so I'm for no reason other than where it's a tie at the bottom. Two movies I saw as a kid that were life changers. One I saw in the theater, one I saw on TV is Horror of Dracula, starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. And my middle name is Lee, so being named Christopher Lee as a kid, it was just a weird thing that I felt compelled to watch Christopher Lee movies. And in the 70s, Christopher Lee was fucking huge. Yeah. I mean, he hosted Saturday Night Live. He was a Bond villain. He was in all these Dracula movies, so that was pretty cool having that name. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And Alien. I saw this in the theater in 1979 when I was 8. Holy shit, it's the greatest haunted house movie ever that has a really cool monster walking around. And I love it so much. I got the alien tattooed on my leg. And it's
really?
Yeah.
I never noticed
amazing.
That.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I love the Alien movies. Yeah. And really not the third one, but all the other ones. But yeah, I just love that franchise. So that's my number 10.
Cool. More on that later. First, before we get there, my number 10 could even be higher. I love this movie. I have loved this movie more and more as time has gone on. For me, it's one of the greatest slasher films of all time. And what's really cool about this movie is that you really don't even see the killer. there's not a lot of blood and gore, but there doesn't need to be. It's just so creepy and menacing. I can watch this over and over again. I watch it every Halloween season religiously, and contrary to all the remakes they've done, the only good one is the first one. Black Christmas from Bob Clark, Margot Kidder, and the great cast here. I mean, man, when that nut job calls on the phone and does all those million voices, doesn't get much better than that. That's like the weirdest shit ever. So yeah, Black Christmas, a absolute classic. Love it.
And so crazy that the same guy made 2 Christmas classics in 2 different genres. Yeah. Black Christmas and what the hell's the other one? You Shoot Your Eye Out.
Oh no, Christmas Story.
Christmas Story. Yeah.
I actually have another Bob Clark movie on my list that's not Black Christmas, so I'm interested in laying that down. So a little tease there.
He's got a couple more classics. I know what that's going to be. That's awesome.
Very cool. Well, in saying that, back to Dave.
All right, I didn't bring any props, so I'm going to steal your prop. Alien. At number 9 for me, and just like you, I saw it in the theater. My aunt took me thinking it was going to be some kind of
kids my uncle took me,
which is amazing to me. I bought the big alien.
Killer alien?
Yeah. Oh, I put it in my parents' bed to scare the hell out of them. It was. But that's like one of those kind of, and you guys talk about it all the time, like when it comes to music too, life-changing type movies, absolutely. And I think Alien is. Second one is fantastic. I agree with you on the third one. I wasn't a big fan, but Alien, definitely classic. Number 9 on my list.
Very cool.
Back to me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, next one on my list is a movie that I rented as a kid, and I didn't really like it because it just was kind of disjointed and looked weird, and it wasn't very gory. But in the 90s, I bought the uncut Japanese Laserdisc when it was worth a shit ton of money, and I should have sold it back then. But nobody knew that they would re-release all these movies a million times. But man, it's an absolute nightmare, and it's got zombies in it, and it's got Catriona MacColl in it, and it's got an amazing score from Fabio Frizzi. It's Lucio Fulci's masterpiece, The Beyond. It was released in a butchered cut in America. It was the 7 Doors of Death, and it was rated R. But the uncut version of The Beyond, there's really not a lot of story to it. Even Fulci just said it's just kind of
mildly.
It's just kind of a nightmare, but it's really fucked up, and there's spiders and zombies and acid, and it's just crazy, but it's an awesome and a lot of fun.
And for those looking to buy The Beyond, that copy that Chris just showed is the one to get.
Yes. For now, I would not be surprised within the next year if we get a 4K disc, and I'll have to buy it again.
Now that I just bought that, yeah. I hate it. Well, all right, well, not to jump on the bandwagon, but I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. The first Alien film. This is obviously the Blu-ray with all the films. But, I mean, my dad took me to see that. I was 13 years old in the film. I think it was the first... Did Animal House come out before or after that? I don't remember.
I want to say before. I think Animal House was 78 and Alien was 79.
Right. This was the second rated R movie I was ever taken to. And again, I was 13 years old, so I probably was almost at that age where I could have gone by myself, but Dad was like, I'll take you. And scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Still does. It is so chilling. The way you put it is perfect. It's a haunted house movie in space with this alien with the jaw that comes out and the blood that's like acid, and it's amazing. And the last half hour of the film is just so
riveting,
good. So good. When Yaphet Kotto gets killed, I love that scene. I like Yaphet Kotto. I wish he didn't get killed, but I mean, that's just such a great scene. And what's her face from The Birds, and
Tippi Hedren?
No, the young girl from The Birds who plays Lockhart, right?
What the hell's her name?
Yeah.
I met her at Chiller.
That's her name.
Yeah.
The movie holds up today too.
Oh, it totally does. You're 100% right.
So
it
scary,
is, which is a testament to how frightening of a movie it is that 40 years later, it could still scare the bejesus out of you.
Absolutely.
Very claustrophobic and really, really atmospheric and creepy. And I think probably for me, one of the first true sci-fi films that really did horror effectively.
Yeah.
Really, in a big way.
It's a classic. There's no doubt about
Absolutely.
It is. All right. Back to Dave.
Okay, number 8, I have from 1962, Carnival of Souls.
Oh, what a great film!
That's a great one.
Oh, what a great film!
And I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan. I'm actually obsessed with the Twilight Zone. I can name every single episode, the writer, the director, within 5 seconds of each episode. I can't believe I actually admitted that on this show, but I just did. That's awesome. That reminds me of a Twilight Zone episode. It really does play out just like a Twilight Zone episode. It's longer, but it never gets boring. It never gets dull. And I watched it again recently because it's been a while since I watched it, just to see if it held up, and it really does. It's spooky. It's one of those movies you really don't want to watch alone or in the dark because it's that creepy. But yeah, Carnival of Souls.
And was a huge inspiration on George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
You can
Really?
totally
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
that,
very much so.
Yeah.
And Candice Hilligoss is just awesome. She's just scared the entire time.
And didn't really do anything after that, right?
No, not really.
Yeah, like I think that was it, and you never saw her again.
No, I met her at a Schiller a couple years
ago. Not a ton of dialogue and
no,
just like
very simple.
Yeah.
But even that scene when she's playing the organ in the church, like it's just so creepy.
Yeah.
You can just see how she's getting taken over. I just think it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
I just got the Criterion Blu-ray of it.
Oh wow,
amazing! It looks so good. Yeah,
I'll have to pick that one up.
Yeah, it's worth having. Yeah, definitely. All right, back to you.
All right, my next one. This is the old 4K that I bought like a year ago, and now I have to buy the new 4K. John Carpenter's Halloween. This was not the first slasher. Arguably, that was Pete's pick, Black Christmas.
Or Psycho.
But yeah, well, true. But this was the one that really kicked off the genre in 1978 and was really a game changer from John Carpenter. Obviously, it's 43-ish years later, and they're still making sequels to it with Jamie Lee Curtis. It's a classic. I still think it's very frightening. There's not a lot of blood, but man, this is like like the first Metallica record or whatever, a game changer and a truly pioneering film that people are still talking about to this day. I mean, hell, I saw Jamie Lee Curtis this today talking about it on the Today Show, because the new sequel Halloween Kills is opening. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So for those of us like yourself who bought the 4K not long ago and now there's a new one coming out, why do we need to own the new one?
Because I don't know how the picture quality compares, but there is a ton of new extras. And being a fan of the movies, like, all right, I like all the documentaries and the behind the scenes and the running commentaries, and if it is a better picture, then that's definitely cements it. Plus, it's kind of cheap; it's only like $25. But I don't know picture-wise how this one compares to the other one. I know with this, there's always a debate with, what's his name? Cinematographer Dean Cundy supervised certain versions and not certain versions. So I don't know how this compares, but it's a curse, so I'll have to buy it again.
You know the drill, guys. The curse is real.
You gotta own everything.
Gotta own it all.
Yeah.
Listen, they told us as a kid, collect them all.
Collect them all.
I listened as a kid.
We never got rid of it. Yeah.
It's embedded in our brains, collect them all.
Yes,
so, yeah.
True.
Speaking of collect them all, my number, what are we up to, number 8?
I think so.
I can't tell you how many times I have bought this film, but had to get the Criterion Collection Blu-ray, Night of the Living Dead. As much as I love Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, and I really do, I always kind of go back to the first. To me, this is my favorite. We had that whole debate when we did the Romero ranking ages ago, whatever. But there's something about the first one that just really, really does it for me. As much as I love the other two, I like there's like a naivety of this particular film, which really resonates with me, and it's just so like stark and bleak.
I mean,
doesn't even need all the gore.
The ending is because it's heartbreaking because you're with this guy the entire movie.
Right. Yep.
Also, too, with zombie films, there's all these rules. They made their rules because there was nothing before it, really.
Right.
So they were able to make their own rules, and it's I can understand why you have it on the list. I have it on my list.
And 50-something years later, I mean, everybody's still following those same rules from The Walking Dead to pretty much anybody that's making zombie movies.
Yep. I mean, I always think about that opening scene, where you have the brother and the sister at the cemetery, and all of a sudden you see this dude kind of ambling towards them in the distance, and you're like, it's such an awesome scene.
But that ending, even like when the credits, the still pictures, just the way they did that was just, it holds up so well.
It's a work of genius.
Yeah, it really is.
It is. Cool. All right, Dave, back to you.
All right, number 7. And I thought I'd have this higher on my list, and I'm interested where you guys have it, if you have it at all. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. I mean, I'm interested to see because it's a classic, and I was talking about it on Busted Open this morning when we were talking about scary movies, and I promoted this show that I was coming on today because I was so excited. But it's like almost like it's done with a home movie.
Totally.
You know, and even more than Leatherface, and of course Leatherface is scary, but the brother just creeps the hell out of me.
He's a
you
freak.
know,
He's a freak.
and when he just takes that, you know, that knife and cuts his hand, you know, cuts. Like it's amazing to me, and it just like the character development. Even though you don't know anything about them, it seems like you know everything about them just from those brief times that they're on camera. I love the movie. It's disturbing. It's not a movie. And a lot of the movies on this list I've watched 100 times. I gotta admit, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those movies I've only watched a few times because it really does disturb me.
It's very.
I can't call it a fun watch, not for me, but it's so impactful. Has to be on the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
More about that later. Chris,
Okay.
what do you got?
All right, this was a movie I saw. I know I told Pete the story. I saw the TV spot for this movie in 1977 when I was 6, and I already liked horror movies. But the TV spot scared the living shit out of me. And ironically, the skull face that's in that TV spot isn't even in the movie. It took me like 10 years later. I watched the movie, and I'm like, the fucking thing's not even in here. But this movie scared the crap out of me. It's arguably the most beautifully shot horror movie ever made. And it's just amazing. This 4K disc of it is breathtaking, both the picture and the sound. I watched it in my movie room not that long ago, and as soon as it ended, it looked so great. I was ready to watch it again. Dario Argento's Suspiria. It's just a creepy witch movie, and it's very unique, and the remake sucks. So if you're going to watch it, go with the original.
Okay.
So I bought the Blu-ray, the regular Blu-ray from a 4K scan, and then I think right around the time where that came out,
Yeah.
or shortly before, and then you bought that, and you're like, yeah, Pete, you probably should get
It's
rid of
worth the upgrade. It looks stunning.
So I went out and ordered. I haven't watched that one because I had just watched the other one, so I need to watch that. And Rich Catino, if you're watching, you're going to get my Blu-ray of that. I have it all. I'm holding on to it for you.
I like what you said about the trailer because I was actually looking back at some old trailers that scared the hell out of me. Like the movie Magic with
the
dummy.
doll.
Like,
Oh,
but
my-
that
the
trailer,
trailer's scarier than the movie.
The trailer scared the hat
Yes.
when you're dead. Like that just like stays with the trailer for It's Alive, which wasn't a great movie, but that trailer scared
There's
the living.
something wrong with the Davis baby.
Yeah, like
It's alive.
it's and the trailer I remember for Mother's Day, the movie Mother's Day,
Another great
scared the bejesus out of me for the longest time. Like I had nightmares based on a 30-second trailer that was on a commercial on TV. So I can understand that sticking with you all these years.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's true. Some of the trailers, I love trailers. I have tons of trailer comps. Yeah, sometimes if I watch the trailer comps, sometimes they give me the heebie-jeebies just a little bit.
That's awesome.
My number 7. Saw this in the theaters when it came out. Also very scary, but one of the most effective horror comedies of all time. Although I think I have another one that I think is a little better, but love it. American Werewolf in London.
Oh, yeah.
John Landis, possibly the greatest werewolf transformation of all time. And a pretty savage movie in spots.
Oh, for sure.
Funny movie in spots.
Very funny.
And one of the I've seen this.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's just so good, and it holds up really well today, and probably has one of the worst sequels. I guess you can call it. a sequel.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
awful.
true.
Awful.
That is terrible.
Awful.
Did we mention that in the worst sequel one? We
Yes,
must
I
have.
think I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Awful. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for? Do it.
Yeah, absolutely
stuff.
fantastic.
Great
And
stuff.
you said like the special effects. You know, that was
That was
1982.
Rick Baker.
Rick Baker.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic and holds up. So
And it's still very funny.
Very funny. Yeah, very, very humorous. Yeah, I mean, the whole scene in the slaughter lamb is just absolutely
Yeah.
classic.
No, that's true.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
all right, my number 6, and I'll tell you this story. I had a babysitter. Her name was Cynthia.
Ooh, I like where this is
And
going already.
she thought I was in bed. and she was watching. We had a very early age, version of HBO back, and this is like 1977, 78. So I was about 6 or 7 years old. And she was watching this movie, and I went behind the sofa, and I was watching over the sofa this movie. She had no idea I was there. I have to tell you, this movie didn't give me nightmares for days or weeks or months. For years, this movie haunted me in my dreams and my nightmares. It scared. I never saw a movie like it before, and I never really seen a movie like it since. And it's Bob Clark's Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Yeah. Nice.
And I went.
This was on regular TV?
It was on HBO. It was on
Okay.
HBO. And she was, like I said, I was 6 years old, and my parents were out, and she was watching it, and I watched it, and I wish I didn't, but I'm glad I did, because I get to tell that story with you guys now. But and I watch, it's creepy as hell, the way the zombies are made, the way the zombies move, how much disrespect they had for the dead, and for what happened at the end of that movie, and even when they're on the raft sailing off, where it's like, oh my God, where are they going to go next? It's still creepy and scary. And
that last 30 minutes is awesome.
Amazing.
That's the whole film right there.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's a slow burn, and then to the end, it's like, boom.
boom. Yep.
Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
It's a classic. And I couldn't wait for that fucking hippie guy to get eaten.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but the guy with the mustache.
Oh, yeah, the
and
main
yellow-
guy?
The
Oh, yeah, you
director
want to-
guy or producer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking kill
Awful
him.
human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, that's a good one. All right, back to me?
Yes.
All right, so pretty much these have all been movies, classics. I'm going trash, but I have always said I love trash. Lots of people, are serious movie people. I like trash. So in October of 1983, I had two life-changing experiences. I went to Madison Square Garden to see Jimmy Snuka and Magnificent Morocco in the Steel Cage, but also my dad bought our first VCR, and he took me to the video store, and I was 12 years old, and he's like, pick any two movies, whatever you want. So I picked two movies, both of which are in my top 10 list. One I'll get to, but the one of the ones which was absolutely mind-blowing, and these are the two Blu-rays I have of it, Humanoids from the Deep.
Good choice.
It is trash of the highest caliber.
That's good trash, though. Really good trash.
Fishmen running around, killing people, raping hot broads, and making babies with them. I mean, it's disgusting trash, but I love it.
Yeah,
it is amazing. There's like a remake that sucks, and but man, I love the suits. I love the Fishmen. This is like Creature from the Black Lagoon, but by somebody who smoked crack. And I just love it.
This is a lovely steelbook, my friend.
Yes.
This is the one that's out of print, right?
It is.
This is.
Now, I purposely haven't opened it. This is the original Blu-ray.
That's the one I have.
This is the Steelbook Blu-ray, mastered in 4K. The reason I didn't open it is because I'm waiting them to put out a 4K disc from it. And then I'm gonna pull a Pete, and I'm gonna sell this one on eBay.
Yeah, that's
because it goes for a few bucks.
I
now.
love this. I mean, this cover is.
Yeah, it's a great cover.
That's beautiful.
Somebody please do an action figure of the Humanoids from the Deep, so I could buy like 10 of them.
Rubber monsters rule the world, man. Come on. Good choice.
So, yeah.
Great choice. I remember the first time I saw that on Cinemax late at night. I was like, oh, because I love monsters, and I was like, wow, these women are completely.
Oh,
hot.
gorgeous! Yeah, from Roger Corman's studio, and it's nuts, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to do two werewolf films in a row, and for me, it's not the original, but it's probably the next one that came out, and it's one of my favorites of all time. I am a sucker for the Universal horror films. I love Lon Chaney Jr., of course, The Wolfman, from 1941,
What,
right?
I
Yeah,
think?
1941. Atmospheric, dark. You feel so. What I love about his interpretation of the Wolfman or the werewolf is that you genuinely feel for him. I mean, he's a very sympathetic.
tortured.
character.
Yeah, so tortured.
Totally tortured. And the scenes out at night, with the fog and all that stuff. It's so atmospheric and creepy. And just a great performance all around, and the great werewolf effects, and from Jack Pierce, and yeah, it's been one of my long-time favorite films. I mean, dude, I was watching these films when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Like in the early 70s, you know, it's like, because I was born in 66, 70, 71, 72. I'm watching Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's Godzilla, King Kong. That's all I watched. I was obsessed at a very early age. And all these years later, I watch this every year without fail. So that's my number 6, whatever we're up to. Yeah.
All right, my number 5. Now, I have a daughter. She's 18 now. But one of my proudest moments that I had as a father to my daughter is one Halloween, she dressed up as the main character from this movie. Dr. Herbert West, Reanimator, is awesome. Number 5 on my list. Like, it's just, I don't even know how you categorize. I don't even know how you go and explain somebody this movie. It has everything in it. It really does. Everything, especially for at the time when I watched it when I was 15. That's the perfect movie for somebody 15 or 16 years old. Gore, out of control gore.
Amazing nudity.
Amazing. Funny as hell, too.
Funny. Right. The only thing that bothered me is the one character had a Talking Heads poster on the wall, which I can't stand, the Talking Heads.
I don't remember but now that you said that, I get the in-joke. Talking Head.
Yeah, it's later on in the movie. But can't stand the band. Love the movie. I mean, it's a classic. I can watch it over and over again. It's fun, like you said. It's funny. The gore is over the top, so it makes it fun. So
and how many of us young B-movie horror fans fell in love with Barbara Crampton back?
Oh my goodness, yeah, gorgeous, good. Oh yeah, fantastic.
She still looks great.
She still looks great. Yeah, absolutely. God bless her.
So number 5, Reanimator.
It's a classic.
Cool. All right, Chris.
All right, I'm going. These guys have already had on their list, so not much more I can say other than 1968's George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, which was a game changer then and still super important today.
That Criterion.
Yes, that is the one to have for sure until somebody does a 4K, because I know they did do a 4K restoration for theaters. So since there is a 4K master, I would assume someone will use that for a 4K disc at some point.
I'm sure. All right, my number. What are we at? 5? My number 5. It almost pains me to think that I'm probably going to have to buy these films again.
Oh, it's
they just
coming.
Released the 4K versions of them. It's a smaller set other than the big. We're going back to Universal again. So the original is still the best, and it's another one of those films that I watch every Halloween season without fail. The original James Whale classic, Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff. I don't know what more to say about it. It is just a classic tale. It's so creepy, and again, the monster's kind of sympathetic because he didn't want to be put back into this world in this shape and wreaking havoc all over the countryside and what have you. Colin Clive is great in this, and how about Dwight Frye as Igor, right? Just crazy stuff. Makeup effects are great, and there's no beating the Karloff. I love Christopher Lee. Glenn Strange had his moments. He had Lon Chaney and Bela Lugosi playing the monster.
Yeah,
but
that's
there's
true.
nothing like Boris Karloff, especially in this film. He's not all wooden and this nonsense. I think that I never really liked that, but a great film. Absolutely, a modern, not modern anymore, but an absolute cinematic classic of all time. So that's my number 5. Back to Dave.
All right, number 4. You guys did a fantastic job with your list of the best John Carpenter films, and I know this was high probably on everyone's list. The Thing. I mean, it's unbelievable that this movie didn't do much better. Thank you for the prop. It's unbelievable. First of all, Kurt Russell is one of the best actors. I mean, he can do anything. But it shocks me that this movie didn't do better at the box office.
The rumor is that it's because this was after E.T. and everybody wanted friendly aliens.
Interesting.
That's the theory.
Yeah.
But also, Roger Ebert called it one of the worst movies of all time. He completely destroyed it, and his word meant something back then.
Absolutely.
So, but he couldn't be more wrong. Obviously, to me, the 4th greatest horror movie of all time. I could watch it again and again. Holds up. The Thing. John Carpenter.
Groundbreaking practical effects, right?
And that's my next pick. John Carpenter.
What a segue! You can't beat that, right?
John Carpenter's The Thing. Everything these guys said and more. It is a class. And it could be argued that this could be A lot of people have said it's the greatest horror movie of all time. It could be. It's not my personal number one, but man, it is such a classic.
Arguably the greatest remake ever made.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, without question.
What'd you guys think of the prequel?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I saw it in the theater, and
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's really similar.
I really want to see it again. Like every time I see it on Blu-ray, it's always like $10, and I'm like, I don't want to pay $10, but I want it for like $5 because then I want to watch it back to back, to see how.
All right, everybody, here we are, part 2 of the Monsters Den tonight, where we're looking at our 10 favorite horror films of all time with Chris Allo and our very special guest, Dave LaGreca from Busted Open Radio on Sirius XM. So
the number one show on Sirius XM Radio.
That's right. Thank you.
In your face, football people, and Howard Stern. Even though he's not sports, screw him.
No, he's not. He's not. But so where we left off is we're talking about our number 4, and we're up to me. My number 4 is the 1954 classic from Toho International, the original, the Big G, Godzilla, one of the greatest sci-fi horror films of all time. And you only watch the Japanese version, folks. Forget that Raymond Burr nonsense, the Americanized crap. That's awful. You got to go with the bleak, the horrific original. One of the greats.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Scary, so chilling, and lots of
Terrifying.
death and destruction. I mean, they don't pull any punches here. So, yeah, this is absolutely amazing. So, check it. If you haven't watched the original, you got to do it. It's my number 4. Back to Dave.
All right, number 3. I have a prop. I forgot my props, but Chris, thank you. Jaws. I was just watching this again last night. The Indianapolis scene, when he's describing that being in the water, is one of the best movie scenes of all time. Still terrifying. Great storytelling. Again, you don't need a lot of gore. There's not. You don't even see the shark much in this movie. But top to bottom, scary, and really changed, I mean, everybody, the way they go into the water, the way they swim in the ocean. You always think of this shark. You always think of Jaws. My number 3.
My number 3 is also Jaws. In case you hadn't heard of it, everything Dave said holds up. I see it probably, I don't know, at least 3-4 times a year because I feel like it's always on either TBS or TNT.
Yep.
And whenever it's on, doesn't matter where it is, I watch it. Especially in the summer, they seem to run it a lot. And I'm 50 years old. I have a swimming pool, and I will not go in the swimming pool at night by myself. Because of Jaws. I know there's not a shark in there.
Could be, though.
Especially with how high I got the pH.
Scaredy cat over here.
But I'm a scaredy cat, so I won't do it.
It's a great film, and that 4K is the one to get.
Yes, looks amazing.
I don't have it in my top 10 because I always struggle like where to place Jaws. Is it a monster movie, a horror movie, is it an action-adventure movie? But I love it. It's one of my favorite films of all time. For whatever reason, I didn't include it here today, but I love it.
It's tough to put them all. I don't have Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Speaking of,
even though I wanted to.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's my number 3.
There you go.
Probably the first film that really scared the crap out of me. Tie between this and another one I'm going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, I mean, this is great. It's so bleak, so realistic looking. This is kind of like the found footage film before there was such a thing as found footage. And I still think one of the craziest and scariest scene is when you first see Leatherface for the first time. He comes out of that back room, like the butcher shop, and then when he goes back in, he just slams that door. It's just like, and the whole final scene where she's there with the whole family and the grandpa's down there, and she breaks the hammer, and then she breaks free and she's running around the woods and back to the road screaming, and Leatherface is coming after her. That final.
I still don't get the black guy. Like black guy just gets out of his truck. And then just runs.
Yeah.
Stay in the truck.
I'm out of here.
I think he was. He was running back into the truck to get
I think he runs away from the truck.
Yeah.
Either way, that just.
You would think get back in the truck and get the hell out of Dodge,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, but yeah, amazing. I love it. And the original is the best by far.
I'm gonna steal a little bit from your shirt for my number 2, Pete, and that's The Exorcist. Listen, you could say number 1, number 2. It's on the top or near the top of everyone's list, I would think. Again, great storytelling. The scene with his mom is just it's terrifying, and Linda Blair is fantastic, and even the extra footage, of her going down the staircase with the spider,
sequence,
like it's just.
Great.
It's just great stuff. And it's not even just like at the top of my list of greatest horror movies of all time, but if I made a top 10 list of my favorite all-time movies, The Exorcist would find it on that list as well. So The Exorcist at number 2.
And once again, the original is the only one you need to bother with, really.
Yeah.
One of these sequels is passable.
A lot of people like 3.
It's okay.
It's okay. I saw it in the theater. I would like to see it again because I haven't seen it in 30 years. But a lot of people seem to have warmed to it. But I recently watched Exorcist 2, The Heretic, both versions, and wow, it's worse than I remember.
Wow,
it's bad.
Really bad.
Yeah, terrible.
No good. All right, back to you.
We could probably do a show on that. Just like movies, for like franchise movies where you only need one movie to watch.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of those.
There's a lot of those.
There's a lot of those.
But all right, I'm up.
Yeah. Number 2.
Okay, my number 2. My second favorite zombie movie of all time. I love zombie movies. This is my second favorite zombie movie of all time. I love the score, the makeup from Gianetto De Rossi. It's just, of all the Italian horror movies, this is the one that plays, I think, the simplest. I mean, you got to be a fucking moron not to understand the plot. And it does, you could see it as it was originally conceived as a loose prequel to Dawn of the Dead, because this was released under the title Zombie 2, because Dawn of the Dead was called Zombie in Europe, and it's Lucio Fulci's Zombie. We are going to eat you is one of the classic taglines. The poster is behind me in my house, and I just love it, man. It's gory. It's still fun. It's a blast.
I just watched it recently.
Yeah, it holds up.
Yeah,
And the new 4K disc, I've bought this movie a lot, and it looks stellar.
I will say I haven't bought the 4K. I bought the Blu-ray.
The triple disc?
The triple disc one taken from the 4K print.
Oh, I bought that, and I never even watched it.
Never watched? That's pretty good.
If anybody wants one, message me. I'll make you a deal.
There you go.
But it's true. That disc looks
great.
From what I saw, it looks great, but I had to quickly buy this one.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, my number 2 on some days might even be my number 1. This has been one of my favorite films of all time since I was a real little kid. And if we go back to the beginning of the episode, I talked about the great horror comedies of all time. Doesn't get much better than Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. It's on here, but there's Bud and Lou and Glenn Strange in the bottom corner. I absolutely love this movie. I watch this movie 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. I know every line to the film, and I will recite every line to the film every time I watch it. It never gets old, and the movie's hilarious. It's chilling. It's got all my favorite Universal horror monsters, and I never get tired of it. I've watched it more than any other film in my entire life.
I remember WPIX here in the New York, New Jersey area on Sundays would play that. You get Minute Mouse, and then you get and then you would get Abbott and Costello, and that was always my favorite movie as well. It's classic. Like you said, all the Universal horror movie, they're all in there. It's fantastic. It's great.
Yeah.
And could be looked at like that was the first, universe.
Yeah.
Because it had all the monsters in the same movie. And how about, is this the first movie with an Easter egg for a sequel? Because it's got the Invisible Man at the very end.
Yeah.
I mean, nuts. Just way ahead of its time.
And it's this movie why I always rate Abbott and Costello above the Three Stooges and Laurel.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree.
Oh, check. Check. Anyway, number 1. Here we go.
All right, number 1, and this is not just my favorite horror movie of all time, but my all-time favorite movie, period. And that is Dawn of the Dead. I had Night of the Living Dead at number 10, and then the sequel, Dawn of the Dead, as my number 1. As I said, all-time favorite movie. The trailer for this movie I remember seeing when I was a kid scared the hell out of me. And like you were saying before, Chris, the first time I went to an actual video store to rent a video, it was Dawn of the Dead.
Wow.
And whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, the copies that I have of this movie, there's several different copies, but it doesn't matter what version you watch, it's fantastic. I love the characters in the movie. I love the fact that it's lengthy enough that you get some character development for a horror movie, which is rare sometimes, but top to bottom, my all-time favorite movie, Dawn of the Dead.
Gee, I wonder what yours is going to be.
Yep. Dave and I had, I think, 3 in common now in the same slots. Yep. My number 1 is Dawn of the Dead. Like Dave said, own multiple copies of it. In October of '83, when my dad got a VCR, we went to the video store. He said you could rent any 2 movies you want. So I picked Humanoids from the Deep and Dawn of the Dead. And wow,
they've stayed with you all these years.
Almost 40 years later. Still 2. They're in my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. Seen Dawn of the Dead countless times, including, I think I've seen it now like 4 or 5 times off film in theaters. It's amazing. It's a masterpiece. Everything Dave said. It's the greatest zombie movie of all time. It's one of the only horror movies where, like Dave said, because of the character development, you feel bad for the heroes when they die. And no matter how many times I've seen it, you still feel bad after seeing your friends on screen, unfortunately, pass. So it's just a masterpiece of a film, and in my opinion, the greatest horror movie of all time. My favorite horror movie of all time.
And you and I were both in Pittsburgh before I even met you. And I was there for AEW, and I made sure I went to the mall. First time I went to the Monroeville Mall.
Monroeville Mall is a must-see if you're in the Pittsburgh area.
And as I was driving there, going through the parking lot, listening to the Goblin soundtrack as I was going to the mall. And it's just to be able to walk through that mall thinking of that movie, it's just a great experience.
And the Living Dead Museum is in the mall. And it has props and masks and original scripts and autograph stuff. So, if you can get to Monroeville, Pennsylvania, go to the mall and go to the Living Dead Museum.
And it's the bust of George A. Romero on the first floor of the mall as well.
They're very proud of that movie. Nice. It's classic. I don't know what more could be said.
That it is. Well, when we were having dinner before we started taping tonight, Dave looks over and he goes, "You wouldn't happen to be foreshadowing your number 1 pick by that shirt you have on today?" And I was like, "Oh shit."
There you go.
I guess I did. Oops. My number 1 horror film of all time is The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, and directed by William Friedkin, a classic. This is that other film I was talking about that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. Besides the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is just serious and dark and. I don't know, man, demonic possession always really unnerved the hell out of me. And something about seeing Linda Blair in that bed with, the white face makeup and the green shit dribbling out of her mouth with that voice, right, every time she talked in that other voice. Oh, man, the priest just sweating. And,
it's a classic.
Oh, my God, it's just, it's so good. So
just narrowly, the Texas Chainsaw and Exorcist were...
It's hard.
Yeah, they were just outside my top 10.
Yeah, so... There you have it. That's my number 1. So some cool films mentioned today. Yeah. Some stuff that kind of carried over, some that didn't. I know we're running late on time, but you got a couple. You want to rattle off a couple quick honorable mentions before we go?
Alligator. I love Alligator. I love trash. That movie's fucking great. And Great White. And probably the most modern one, because I love zombie movies, Planet Terror. That Robert Rodriguez did a few years ago.
Yeah, that's really good.
Man, I love that movie. I've seen it a ton of times. I own the gun and tons of stuff from that movie. It's trash, but I love it. And I love trash. And Pumpkinhead was another one that I just absolutely love. So those are a couple off the top of my head.
Hellraiser. The first Hellraiser movie is a classic and one that I love. The first Friday the 13th is another one.
Another one, yeah.
That's the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Is great as well. So, and as far as the zombie movies go, Day of the Dead is kind of like, I know Pete, you're a big fan of that one. Yeah. It's a classic as well. So those are some honorable mentions.
Cool. I got Halloween, the first, The Descent.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Really good.
Horror of Dracula, The Thing, The Howling. Curse of Frankenstein, I want to get a couple hammers in here. Jaws, I have. The first Hatchet film, which I think is a great modern one.
Yeah, that's
right?
fun.
Pumpkinhead, Rosemary's Baby, White Zombie. I'm a big Bela Lugosi fan, so I love White Zombie. From Beyond, my favorite Stuart Gordon film, and the original My Bloody Valentine.
Those are some great ones.
Classics for sure.
So there you have it, everybody. Our favorite films, horror films of all time. We want to thank Dave for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Dave, give a little plug to what you do on day-to-day.
I appreciate it. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon, we're live on Sirius XM Fight Nation, channel 156. Myself, Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, and Mark Henry. And you could subscribe to if you're cheap and don't want to get Sirius XM, you could subscribe to the Busted Open podcast for free, available on Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora. So make sure you do that in Apple as well. And then you can check me out on YouTube, The LaGreca Show. And make sure you get my t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com.
There you go. Awesome. Thanks a lot to Dave LaGreca for joining us here today. And for Chris Allo, I am Pete Pardo. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on this thing that's called YouTube.
All the damn time.
For Dave and Chris, I am Pete. See you next week on the Monsters Den. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.